Welcome back. This week, we're installing a garage door because it's finally here after like 4.5 months, and we won't have to shovel snow drifts out of a garage anymore, and I'm excited.
Very good singing, Zeus.
Okay, for those of you like us that have never installed a garage door before, the interesting thing, I was expecting that we would have to put the rails on that hold the garage door first and then put the garage door onto the rails, but that's not how you do it. You actually assemble the garage door from the bottom up and then tack them in place. And then you install the rails that they roll up on. So it's kind of interesting. We're tackling the first piece. The bottom piece has this weather strip on it. That's how you know it's the bottom. And then we attach brackets to it, tack it in place, and then do the next one, stack it on top until we have a whole garage door built.
Hi, welcome to morning 2. Today we are going to finish the garage door installation. Yesterday we basically got all of the doors outfitted with their hardware, which I'm going to show you. And now we have to stack them up and attach the rails and attach the motor, and then the thing will work. So first thing I want to show you is some of the hardware on this stuff. Each door has bespoke hardware, so we had to go through various sets of instructions, none of which actually apply to our situation exactly. The largest door that they specify instructions for is 18 feet, and we are at 20 feet. So that these things don't bow in the wind and get broken. They're steel on the outside, but it's very, very thin. We had to add these struts, which keep them from getting bent if it gets really windy up here. This is one set of hardware for the top doors. Every other door just has hinges on it. So we had to assemble them really pretty easy. We just poked sheet metal screws through all of the fittings in the right places and in the right sequence. And it wasn't difficult, it just took a little time and diving through instructions. Next, we get to stack these doors and kind of cobble them onto the wall itself. It's really lame how they tell you to secure these temporarily. You want to see, literally, you pound a nail into the door frame next to it, and then you bend it over the edge to hold these. And altogether, they weigh a lot. They weigh almost 700 pounds. It's like 693 pounds. So I'm not really very happy with this method. Clopay, if you're watching, not okay. Give us some temporary brackets so that these things don't fall down. It's a safety problem.
As soon as the garage door was up, we got our diesel heater going and started accumulating some heat in the garage for the first time. And it was a simple task of getting the railings on so that the garage door was actually secure.
We did it! We got horizontal and vertical tracks fully installed. And tomorrow we're gonna get the spring mounted so that we can actually open the door. But the door is secure, it's all plumb, it's gonna be great. As you can see, it's snowing a lot. Our cars are getting snowed on. The good news is that we have a garage door. The bad news is that the garage door doesn't open yet. We still need to install that rod and the spring that actually opens the garage door. So we're gonna start working on that so that we can get our cars inside. The springs on the bar at the top are kind of the scariest part of this whole job. The instructions say to assemble the springs onto the bar and then lift it into place, but it would end up weighing so much by the time.
Like 275 pounds, it'd be
We
really
were
heavy.
worried about trying to walk that weight up 12 feet. So what we've done is we've balanced the bar up on the scaffolding, and then we're going to put the springs on either side, one at a time. Somebody's gonna have to hold it from tipping over on one side, and then the other person is assembling the spring on that side. We're gonna see how it goes. So now we have the bar with the springs on it, up most of the way into place, but we're missing 2 of these, which are very important for the center bracket. They only gave us 2, we need 4 because we have such a wide door that we need 2 center brackets. So now we have to go to Ace and try to find some lag screws. Just looking through the bolts and screws.
Okay, let's get a couple nuts that fit on these. See if they have any windshield wipers. Hi. Oh no.
Oh no.
What did that happen?
Is there a hole in your pocket?
There's a hole in my hammer loop though. It turns out it felt like my pocket because my thumb was inside it.
Springs are attached to brackets. Next thing to do is to torque them. Tension them.
So the first attempt to open the garage door, it actually got stuck on its own bracket. The bracket that they provided stuck out a little too far and it blocked the garage door from rolling open on its tracks. So once we got that figured out, we just shaved it off a little bit with a grinder, an angle grinder, and then we were able to operate the door. After some trial and error, we were able to get the springs adjusted to the point where the garage door wasn't opening so strongly that we couldn't shut it, and also the springs were adjusted strong enough that it would pick up the door. The springs came with a recommended number of turns of 9.8 turns per spring, and when we did that, the garage door would not close. It was so strong it would not close. So probably that recommendation is based on only having 1 spring. We're not really sure. We adjusted it down to 7 turns per spring because it was just so strong at 9.8, and that wasn't quite enough. It wouldn't open. So then we adjusted back up. I think we ended up somewhere around 8.5 turns per spring. But we got the garage door opening and closing normally, and Mike installed a garage door controller, little motor on the side. We went with a side mount garage door controller, but he installed it while I was not there, and we didn't get any video of it, but it works. Ta-da! We have a functioning garage door. Very exciting.
We went on vacation for a week and left some projects alone so that we could go enjoy some sunshine and go swimming and not be freezing cold for a little bit. And now we're back at it. We're putting the trim up on the face of the garage. We have it on the two outside edges around the window and the door, and now we're working on the trim that is around the actual garage door, and it's looking pretty good. Look how cool Mike's hat is. He's got a hat with a headlamp in it.
It's nice.
Keeps his ears warm and he can see. It's pretty special. So the next piece of trim that we're gonna hang is the very wide piece that goes over the opening of the garage door. So we have a string that we're using to set a level bottom of that board that covers all of the seams and is perfectly level.
This weekend has been kind of tough actually because it will not stop snowing. A. B, the canyon was closed for a while, so we couldn't get materials we wanted to. C, we do not have all the materials we need. We're trying to finish up the trim on the hardy board on the face of this garage, and we sort of have had to improvise with ripping down wider pieces to get the width of pieces we need to trim out this doorway behind us, which is fine, but we've just discovered that the trim we thought was going to get us to the finish line is in fact thicker than the trim that we have for the rest of the face of the garage. So we'd end up with uneven joints because of the varying thicknesses of the trim, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to use what we have to do what we can, and then we're going to pick up more trim later. We've really gotten almost nothing done this weekend because of the weather. Yesterday it was 20-mile-an-hour crosswind, which is really bad when you're getting wet from the snow that's in the air, and it's a swamp cooler effect on you. It's really not nice, and we've spent hours and hours and hours just shoveling so that we can get where we need to go and we can get the cars in and out of here. And it just needs to stop snowing for a while so we can get things done. It's been absurd.
So now we are redoing that side with the trim that is the right thickness. Today, I think we're gonna finish it up. All we have left to do is the little vertical strips. We have all of the horizontal wide pieces of trim on, and now we just have to do the little strips, which should go quickly. I think it's turning out pretty good. So we couldn't do the really wide piece of trim that we wanted to do on either side of the garage that would have gone almost all the way up to that top piece because it was thicker, and trim that wide doesn't come in the right thickness as the rest of the trim that we have, and we didn't want to have a big gap and a difference in trim thickness. So it looks good. Every time we put a piece of trim up, the whole thing looks even better. It's covering up all of our flaws.
Fortunately, we were right about this step. It did go very quickly. My mother was kind enough to come up and help us out. We were working on measuring and cutting the pieces, and then Mike was able to nail them up into place. It was very efficient, and every single time a piece went up, it just looked better. So very happy with how this all came together, and it does actually look like the house. We're pretty proud of ourselves. It filled all of the little gaps in between the boards. The hardest part was actually just moving the ladder and getting a stable footing underneath the ladder because it's just ice right in front of the garage. We had to pick out the ice in between so that the ladder had stable footing. And Mike was a champ. Being up there on the ladder in the ice is not fun, and we've been doing it all winter, but we should be done with it, finally.
We did it!
We did do it.
We finally finished the siding on the garage. We haven't done the fascia, but we're not gonna try to do the fascia
There's a lot of snow up
until
there.
the snow
It's
goes away.
like a solid layer of ice.
It's
But
the-
decided, and I don't have to work on the garage anymore for a while.
yeah, we are going to be working full time in the house now. We really need to get going on the plumbing in the house. So that's next up. Thank you so much for joining us. It took a very long time to do one wall. I'm very happy that we only decided to do the board and batten on the face of the garage and not all the way around, because it would have taken forever. But we finally did it, and we're gonna start doing plumbing next. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.